Hey everyone, it's Dr. Justin Sung here. I'm a former medical doctor and now full-time learning coach and consultant, and welcome to another episode of Overrated, Underrated, where we're going to be going through lots of different ideas and I'm going to be explaining my take on them as briefly as possible.
Okay, we're going on to the app section now. Obsidian.
I'd say Obsidian is properly rated because I know it's getting popular, and it is popular, and there are lots of other people and there's other YouTubers and influencers and stuff that can talk about Obsidian much better than I can. I think it's a very good app. I use it for some purposes. I think for studying specifically, I don't think Obsidian is great because it runs into the same issues as linear note-taking and inorganic relational forming, and it doesn't reflect your higher order knowledge structures as it would if you were to encode it properly from a cognitive perspective. But I think as an app to help you as a second brain especially, I think it's a great app. So I'd say properly rated, it's got a lot of popularity, it's growing, and I think it's well deserved.
RemNote.
Okay, well, look, I'm gonna have to say sorry to Mike and Maddie because I know the guys and I like the guys. I think the software RemNote is a little overrated. I don't think it really tackles the issues of higher order learning and nonlinear relational note-taking or the higher order knowledge structures that we've been talking about. I don't think it covers those things very well. It does it from a software perspective, like how can we create relationships from a database perspective rather than looking at it from how can we do it in a way that actually facilitates the right cognitive process, which is really a different ball game. So I would say that I think it is a little overrated, yeah.
Journaling techniques now. Is daily reflection overrated, underrated?
Daily reflection, I think, is underrated because not many people do it. Just to note that just because you are doing daily reflection doesn't mean that you're getting all the value of daily reflection, and in some cases daily reflection can actually make things worse, especially if you're using that as like a trigger point for negative spiraling. So I think proper reflective technique is super underrated, and if you have proper reflective technique and daily journaling, I think that can be a very powerful combination.
How about free writing?
I'd say it's probably underrated as well. It's a great way of just getting your thoughts out and helping you document and helping you slow down your thought processes and be a little bit more critical. It's great for developing metacognition as well. So for those reasons, and because of the fact that most people don't use it, and actually probably most people don't even know what it means, I would say it's underrated.
Daily affirmations?
Daily affirmations. It's quite a trend these days. It's quite trendy these days. So for that reason, I'd say I'm gonna say it's properly rated. I think it was underrated. And I think right now it's properly rated because it's becoming more popular and people are starting to understand that it's great for positive reinforcement and building that positive psychology and helping to sort of break out of learned helplessness behaviors. Maybe if you ask me a year from now, I might say it's overrated because there are branches of daily affirmation that starting to branch out into this kind of like mystical, hippie, like woo, like I'm gonna do my daily affirmation as I look and rub into my magical crystal ball and like rub salt all over my hair. Like it's starting to branch into this weird territory that's a little off. So especially on TikTok, it's very like, kills my faith in humanity. So at the moment, I'm gonna say properly rated, but maybe in the future, it's gonna become overrated.
Writing about your anxieties?
I think writing about anxieties is, again, it's helpful if you have structure and guidance and you know how to do it in a productive way, but I also know that writing about anxiety is not always productive, and it can, in some cases, feed into anxiety cycles and anxiety spirals. I'd say the guidance of like a psychologist or a clinical psychologist or a therapist even is going to be helpful for you to know how you can reflect in a more productive way. But overall, I'd say it's underrated because most of the people that I know with anxiety do not write about it or document it or try to be metacognitive or that reflective about it at all.
To-do list.
To-do lists. When I was in my first year of uni, I used to have this thing I called the to-do list of death, which meant that I would write things on my to-do list and I would either get them done or I would die. That was my mindset. I was very extreme. I was very extreme 18-year-old, okay? Now, thinking about it, I think to-do lists are properly rated. I think it's a very good way for helping you to document, obviously, your tasks. It's a good springboard for helping you with prioritization. The prioritization part, I think, is underrated and people aren't really doing it. Just having it on a to-do list is not enough. A to-do list by itself in isolation is not enough, but it's a prerequisite for good prioritization, which is one of the most high yield things that you can be doing in your life. It's properly rated for that reason. People use it, people love it. It's good for all of those reasons. The only overrated part about it would be if people are just thinking that having it on a to-do list actually means that means you're going to be productive.
Drawing or doodling?
drawing or doodling is overall underrated, but most people aren't really doodling in a way that is productive. Like most people are doodling like making the, if it's organic chemistry, it's like organic chemistry. Like they're drawing out, making it really pretty. But drawing and doodling is a great way of representing information non-verbally, which is important because your visual processing is tens of thousands of times faster than your written word processing, but also because of the fact that it allows you to express more information in a way that is non-directional, which is the way that knowledge is inherently sort of non-linear and omnidirectional. So trying to represent it linearly means that you lock yourself into learning it in a linear flow, whereas drawings and doodles can actually break that open. You can look at like an image all at once in one go and take in lots of information all in one go, and that is a very underrated part of learning.
All right, so last bit, meditation and techniques. Mindfulness meditation, overrated or underrated?
Mindfulness meditation is underrated. Mindfulness meditation used to be something that was like not well known, and now it is something that's very well known by lots of people. I'm continually surprised by how much like people are starting to know this, and I think apps and things have done a great thing to try to push that out to more people and popularize and normalize it. So that's a good thing. I think people still underrate the value that it has. Mindfulness meditation is not one of those things that usually provides a short-term immediate benefit, especially if you're a beginner to it. It's kind of like working out. You need to work out for a period of time before you can use that transferably. And the other thing is that when you're training mindfulness meditation, like getting distracted is the point. Bringing yourself back from the distraction and letting that go and being mindful. That's actually the point. So some people are put off by the fact that they're so easily distracted. That's like going into a gym and being put off by the fact that you need to move. So that was the point of it. So I think if you didn't understand that, you would severely underrate it. And I think that's the way that most people do underrate it. So therefore, I think it is still underrated.
Focus meditation.
Well, focus meditation is really I think personally, I think it could be viewed as really a subset of mindfulness meditation. In fact, all these meditative practices kind of end up sort of blending together. The only difference is the intention behind it. And also, there isn't really clear research that differentiates the benefits of different forms of meditation from each other. So if you look at something like very secular meditation practices versus something that's more like religious or transcendental meditation, you're not really seeing that there are unique differences for each of these, at least not when you look at the research as a whole. So I think meditation as a whole is just good to do. And if you're wanting to use it for focus, whether you're wanting to use it to calm down, whether you want to use it to detach or just deal with anxiety or whatever it is, I think that's just up to you to pick your intention, but it's just good overall. Movement meditation. Movement meditation, I'm going to say, is actually even more underrated than the other ones. And I'm going to say this because I know lots of people that will meditate and they'll practice mindfulness, but they won't understand how they can translate or transfer or use that technique in their daily life. So for example, they may do their meditation like every evening or something for like 20 minutes. But during the day when they have like, I'm getting stressed or flustered or anxious, they don't think to use that same technique at the time. One thing that I think movement meditation helps you to do is understand that you can be in a meditative state of mind without being in a meditative conventional pose. You can embody meditative practices just while you're walking, while you're cleaning, while you're doing the dishes, while you are whatever, and just breaking it into the mode of everyday life as a skill that you can use and a tool that you've just got in your toolkit. I think that's a view that people often don't have about meditation, and so I would say it's underrated for that reason. So that's it for this episode of Overrated, Underrated. If there's anything that I mentioned that you want me to dive into in more detail, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what it is that you want me to dive into, and also specify the question about what aspect of it you want me to dive into. In the very, very first Overrated, Underrated video that we did for this, I just said leave a comment below on what you want me to expand on, and people just said like the word expand on it, and I was like, what about it? So that was my fault this time. Be a little bit more specific, but anyway, thank you for watching. If you like this stuff, leave a like, leave a comment, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.